Swarm behavior, or swarming, is a collective behavior exhibited by entities, particularly animals, of similar size which aggregate together, perhaps milling about the same spot or perhaps moving en masse or migrating in some direction. It is a highly interdisciplinary topic. As a term, swarming is applied particularly to insects, but can also be applied to any other entity or animal that exhibits swarm behavior. The term flocking is usually used to refer specifically to swarm behavior in birds, herding to refer to swarm behavior in quadrupeds, shoaling or schooling to refer to swarm behavior in fish. Phytoplankton also gather in huge swarms called blooms, although these organisms are algae and are not self-propelled the way animals are. By extension, the term swarm is applied also to inanimate entities which exhibit parallel behaviors, as in a robot swarm, an earthquake swarm, or a swarm of stars. From a more abstract point of view, swarm behavior is the collective motion of a large number of self-propelled entities. From the perspective of the mathematical modeler, it is an emergent behavior arising from simple rules that are followed by individuals and does not involve any central coordination. Swarm behavior is also studied by active matter physicists as a phenomenon which is not in thermodynamic equilibrium, and as such requires the development of tools beyond those available from the statistical physics of systems in thermodynamic equilibrium. Swarm behavior was first simulated on a computer in 1986 with the simulation program BOIDS. This program simulates simple agents that are allowed to move according to a set of basic rules. Models. In recent decades, scientists have turned to modeling swarm behavior to gain a deeper understanding of the behavior. Mathematical models. Early studies of swarm behavior employed mathematical models to simulate and understand the behavior. The simplest mathematical models of animal swarms generally represent individual animals as following three rules. Move in the same direction as your neighbors. Remain close to your neighbors. Avoid collisions with your neighbors. The BOIDS computer program, created by Craig Reynolds in 1986, simulates swarm behavior following the above rules. Many subsequent and current models use variations on these rules, often implementing them by means of concentric zones around each animal. In the zone of repulsion, very close to the animal, the focal animal will seek to distance itself from its neighbors to avoid collision. Slightly further away, in the zone of alignment, the focal animal will seek to align its direction of motion with its neighbors. In the outermost zone of attraction, which extends as far away from the focal animal as it is able to sense, the focal animal will seek to move towards a neighbor. The shape of these zones will necessarily be affected by the sensory capabilities of the given animal. For example, the visual field of a bird does not extend behind its body. Fish rely on both vision and on hydrodynamic perceptions relayed through their lateral line, while Antarctic krill rely both on vision and hydrodynamic signals relayed through antennae. However, recent studies of starling flocks have shown that each bird modifies its position relative to the 6 or 7 animals directly surrounding it, no matter how close or how far away those animals are. Interactions between flocking starlings are thus based on a topological rule rather than a metric rule. It remains to be seen whether this applies to other animals. Another recent study, based on an analysis of high-speed camera footage of flocks above Rome and assuming minimal behavioral rules, has convincingly simulated a number of aspects of flock behavior. Evolutionary models. In order to gain insight into why animals evolved swarming behavior, scientists have turned to evolutionary models that simulate populations of evolving animals. Typically, these studies use a genetic algorithm to simulate evolution over many generations in the model. These studies have investigated a number of hypotheses explaining why animals evolve swarming behavior, such as the selfish herd theory, the predator confusion effect, the dilution effect, and the many eyes theory. Agents Mac, Robert Schweitzer, Frank. Multi-agent Model of Biological Swarming. Advances in Artificial Life. Lecture Notes in Computer Science 2801. pp. 810-820. DOI 10.1007-978-3-540-39432-7_87. ISBN 978-3-540-20057-4. Citesiac 10.1.1.87, 8022. Self-organization emergence. The concept of emergence, that the properties and functions found at a hierarchical level are not present and are irrelevant at the lower levels, is often a basic principle behind self-organizing systems. An example of self-organization in biology leading to emergence in the natural world occurs in ant colonies. The queen does not give direct orders and does not tell the ants what to do. Instead, each ant reacts to stimuli in the form of chemical scent from larvae, other ants, intruders, food and build-up of waste, and leaves behind a chemical trail, which, in turn, provides a stimulus to other ants. Here each ant is an autonomous unit that reacts depending only on its local environment and the genetically encoded rules for its variety of ant. Despite the lack of centralized decision-making, ant colonies exhibit complex behavior and have even been able to demonstrate the ability to solve geometric problems. For example, colonies routinely find the maximum distance from all colony entrances to dispose of dead bodies. Stigmergy. A further key concept in the field of swarm intelligence is stigmergy. Stigmergy is a mechanism of indirect coordination between agents or actions. The principle is that the trace left in the environment by an action stimulates the performance of a next action by the same or a different agent. In that way, subsequent actions tend to reinforce and build on each other, leading to the spontaneous emergence of coherent, apparently systematic activity. Stigmergy is a form of self-organization. It produces complex, seemingly intelligent structures, without need for any planning, control, or even direct communication between the agents. As such, it supports efficient collaboration between extremely simple agents, who lack any memory, intelligence or even awareness of each other. Swarm intelligence. Swarm intelligence is the collective behavior of decentralized, self-organized systems, natural or artificial. The concept is employed in work on artificial intelligence. The expression was introduced by Gerardo Beni and Jing Wang in 1989, in the context of cellular robotic systems. Swarm intelligence systems are typically made up of a population of simple agents such as boids interacting locally with one another and with their environment. The agents follow very simple rules, and although there is no centralized control structure or dictating how individual agents should behave, local, and to a certain degree random, interactions between such agents lead to the emergence of intelligent global behavior, unknown to the individual agents. Swarm intelligence research is multidisciplinary. It can be divided into natural swarm research studying biological systems and artificial swarm research studying human artifacts. There is also a scientific stream attempting to model the swarm systems themselves and understand their underlying mechanisms, and an engineering stream focused on applying the insights developed by the scientific stream to solve practical problems in other areas. Algorithms. Swarm algorithms follow a Lagrangian approach or an Eulerian approach. The Eulerian approach views the swarm as a field, working with the density of the swarm and deriving mean field properties. It is a hydrodynamic approach, and can be useful for modeling the overall dynamics of large swarms. However, most models work with the Lagrangian approach, which is an agent-based model following the individual agents that make up the swarm. Individual particle models can follow information on heading and spacing that is lost in the Eulerian approach. Ant colony optimization. Ant colony optimization is a widely used algorithm which was inspired by the behaviors of ants. and has been effective solving discrete optimization problems related to swarming. The algorithm was initially proposed by Marco Dorigo in 1992, and has since been diversified to solve a wider class of numerical problems. Species that have multiple queens may have a queen leaving the nest along with some workers to found a colony at a new site, a process akin to swarming in honeybees. Ants are behaviorally unsophisticated. Collectively they perform complex tasks. Ants have highly developed sophisticated sign-based communication. Ants communicate using pheromones, trails laid that can be followed by other ants. Routing problem: ants drop different pheromones used to compute the shortest path from source to destination. Rauch M. Milonis MM and Chialvo drive pattern formation and functionality in swarm models. Physics Letters A. 207. 185. Arxiv. Odaporg. 9507003. Self-propelled particles. Self-propelled particles is a concept introduced in 1995 by Vic C. K. al. as a special case of the Boyd's model introduced in 1986 by Reynolds. A swarm is modeled in SPP by a collection of particles that move with a constant speed but respond to a random perturbation by adopting at each time increment the average direction of motion of the other particles in their local neighborhood. Simulations demonstrate that a suitable nearest neighbor rule eventually results in all the particles swarming together, or moving in the same direction. This emerges, even though there is no centralized coordination, and even though the neighbors for each particle constantly change over time. SPP models predict that swarming animals share certain properties at the group level, regardless of the type of animals in the swarm. Swarming systems give rise to emergent behaviors which occur at many different scales, some of which are turning out to be both universal and robust. It has become a challenge in theoretical physics to find minimal statistical models that capture these behaviors. Particle swarm optimization. Particle swarm optimization is another algorithm widely used to solve problems related to swarms. It was developed in 1995 by Kennedy and Eberhardt and was first aimed at simulating the social behavior and choreography of bird flocks and fish schools. The algorithm was simplified and it was observed to be performing optimization. The system initially seeds a population with random solutions. It then searches in the problem space through successive generations using stochastic optimization to find the best solutions. The solutions it finds are called particles. Each particle stores its position as well as the best solution it has achieved so far. The particle swarm optimizer tracks the best local value obtained so far by any particle in the local neighborhood. The remaining particles then move through the problem space following the lead of the optimum particles. At each time iteration, the particle swarm optimizer accelerates each particle toward its optimum locations according to simple mathematical rules. Particle swarm optimization has been applied in many areas. It has few parameters to adjust, and a version that works well for a specific applications can also work well with minor modifications across a range of related applications. A book by Kennedy and Eberhardt describes some philosophical aspects of particle swarm optimization applications and swarm intelligence. An extensive survey of applications is made by poly-altruism researchers in Switzerland have developed an algorithm based on Hamilton's rule of kin selection. The algorithm shows how altruism in a swarm of entities can, over time, evolve and result in more effective swarm behavior.